Happy Thursday. So, I've been on the fence about talking about a situation that I've went through for the past 10 months. But this morning, the divine said, get off the fence. Stop holding it in. You need to educate people on what we're facing in the world. You know, I was married the first time for 25 years to a man that I loved with all of my heart, and we have children together. He passed away this past year. It was late spring, early summer. He passed away. He was my best friend. We stayed best friends, even though we weren't together, because we were good friends. We just weren't good partners because he had addiction issues. And, you know, I went through some health issues of my own, and I overcame them, and I decided, you know, it's time to go. So, you know, when I ended that relationship, I hopped right back into another one, you know, and I guess that's my MO. I think that if somebody gives me attention, that means that they want to be with me. Well, you know, that was the wrong way to look at things. And all of my life, I've struggled in relationships because I never was fulfilled in a relationship. And, you know, I think that I'm not sure why I felt the need to jump into relationships, except for the fact of, you know, early on, growing up, my mom left when I was 9 years old. My dad was abusive. He was an alcoholic, and he used to beat her. You know, I guess what I couldn't understand is why she didn't take me with her. You know, I was the youngest, and I was 9 years old. So there, I felt the responsibility was put on my shoulders to be the mom, you know, at 9 years old. No child should ever have to feel that way. And I made sure that my children never had to feel that way. I've always tried to be there for my children and lift them up and give them a good example of how responsibility is and how you should live. And I was wrong in that too, because the example of jumping into relationships wasn't the best thing either. So therefore I passed it down to my daughters. You know, I've spoke to them about this, my need to feel like I need to jump into a relationship, you know. So the second marriage only lasted 7 years because I married someone who couldn't keep their dick in their pants. You know, someone who constantly was fiending over other females. And, you know, I was getting ready to do a mortgage on a house for $250,000. And I found it. And it stopped it right there. And I decided enough is enough. So I set out on a journey. I made a district manager's position for the company I worked for. And there was an opportunity in Illinois. So I took it to get away, you know. So it was a very trying time. It was kind of ugly, but it was a quick divorce. It wasn't too ugly. We parted ways, and I even wish the person the best of luck, because I do. You know, just because things didn't work out between us doesn't mean that I should wish anybody any harm or any karma or anything like that. That's not my job. that is up to the divine on what needs to be repaid. I don't have the authority to do that. And not only that, I don't want to have that type of thought in my head that I want to cause harm to someone else, because that's not who I am. Maybe 30 years ago, that might have been who I was. When I was a rebel, I was a thug. I thought I was everything in a bag of chips. I'm not that person anymore. You know, I love people and I want to help people. So, you know, when I got into that, where I got the divorce, I met someone else right away. Met him online. Had to have him in my life. Did I love the person? Yes, I did, because I love humanity. And, you know, anyone that's suffering, I want to try and help them. But not everyone you can help. And I figured that out. You know, I was with this person for 3 years. They were a narcissist. But I didn't care. I didn't care. As long as they didn't beat on me or mistreat me, you know, to where it was a constant mistreatment, I didn't care. You know, I ignored a lot in that relationship because I didn't care. I just didn't want to be alone, you know, and the person wasn't in the greatest spot, and I thought maybe I could help boost them up in life. And at the time, maybe I did think that that's what I wanted. But it turned out to be not what I wanted at all. This person was all about themselves and what they wanted. They didn't really care about what I wanted. You know, and I knew, you know, that it was not going to work. So I ended up, you know, I've always been a person that has always left people better than where I found them. And this person, I gave them a car because they helped me out through the 3 years. And, you know, I felt like that they earned that and they deserved that. I am not an unfair person. I'm a very giving person, sometimes too giving. You know, so I gave them a vehicle. That way they wouldn't be stranded when they got back to their hometown. And I even arranged someone to help me get them back home. And so that's what I did. You know, I mean, the whole venture cost me over $1,000, I'm sure, maybe even more. But I left that person better than when I found them. And, you know, and I think that that was my way of releasing myself from the guilt. But really, in turn, I wasn't right to that person. And I had karma to pay for that. And, you know, I started working on myself, decided, you know, I went on a dating site and I was there for 2 weeks, and I thought that I wanted to start dating, and then I ended up canceling the account, deleting it, and I just started working on myself, you know, and this person left in March, and so I was preparing for spring because I was a gardener for 30 years. I gave up gardening for my spirituality, so I have more time for it because I've been called. God has things in store for me. So I've given up the whole gardening thing to pursue my spirituality. And, you know, the whole thing is I was working on myself, and around May, the beginning of May, I got a message through Messenger from someone, and they acted like they knew me. And I was like, I don't know you. And they're like, well, I'm sorry, I was mistaken. We can talk if you want or not. And I asked them how they knew my cousin, because the only reason I accepted the friends request was because they were friends with some of my family members. And the person revealed to me that he's known my family since he was a little kid. And I told him, oh boy, I come from a crazy family. And he's like, oh, you have no idea. My family's just as crazy. So therefore, we had family ties. So it kind of lightened the mood. And I thought, okay, let's see where this goes. This person is younger than me. They're 12 years younger than me. So